Social Media Show. I'm Albert Marucci. B.L. Ackman, as you see on your screen, as well as Dave Erickson, they have asked me to join for this milestone 100th episode of the Beyond Social Media Show, which I was an original cast member of way back when. So, BL and David, thank you so much for inviting me to join the Beyond Social Media Show 100th episode, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We recorded this live on June 13th.
We're really happy to have you here because, Albert, this was your idea. You're the one who introduced me and Dave and brought us together and said, let's do a show so we make sure we keep up with our blogs. And so welcome, everybody, to episode 100. And we want you to stick around for a little bit of an after party. We're going to have a little virtual toast to you afterwards. And we will post the link to join the Hangout. We can have up to 15 people in here in the Hangout. And we also have Comment Tracker on. So if you have something to say during the show, we should actually see it and be able to respond to you. So it is my privilege every week to start the show with the worst episode of the worst thing that happened all week, and in my opinion, the worst thing that happened this week was that Twitter is expanding direct messages to 10,000 characters. That's a story from Molly McHugh, who's editor of Wired, and she said increasing direct messenger count from 140 to get ready for this 10,000. That's right, humble minimalist to the point DM, moving on up to the messaging big leagues. You could fit a short novel in a DM now. In fact, the short story, The Little Match Girl, is much, much shorter than 10,000 characters. So, yes, I agree, messaging is an essential part of social media, but I'm on Twitter because it's quick. The last thing in the world that I need is a novel in my direct messages. Thank you very much. Blech, save me someone.
Well, I can see the utility of expanding the character space for DMs because they're typically transactional conversations you have in there. You're trying to get something accomplished with somebody, but that's a lot of characters, and it also introduces a lot more room for Twitter spam. So, yeah.
I wonder if the brands didn't demand that in order to correct negative situations.
Well, the brands actually use software that lets them take their conversations into a different platform when they want to actually have a conversation with you. This is something I hate, that when they do that, but so they already had a method of dealing with that. So I'm not happy about it, and I have a feeling I won't be alone. And so, Dave, give us one of your bad stories.
So yeah, I think this has potentially huge implications. Out of the Apple's event that they made product announcements, the thing that the tech media is reporting on, and journalistic media is reporting on, is the next version of Safari will let users block ads and content on iPhones and iPads. This is from Neiman Labs. A lot of people wrote about it. This one in particular is from Neiman Labs. The reporter's name is Joshua Benton, and it's a big if right now because this hasn't been rolled out. But in the iOS 9 developer documentation, there's this sentence that people are focusing on. The new Safari release brings content blocking Safari extensions to iOS. Content blocking gives your extensions a fast and efficient way to block cookies, images, resources, pop-ups, and other content. So the most direct implication is that it opens the door for extensions like AdBlock, which a lot of people use. The article cites a 2014 report that found that AdBlock usage was up 70% year over year, with 140 million people blocking ads worldwide, including 41% of 18 to 29-year-olds. So it's going to affect media companies who rely on advertising for their revenue. It's going to affect independent publishers, people like you and I who have blogs and we use AdSense ads to get some pocket money. I mean, I'm not gonna live or die on that, but it could potentially reduce my revenue streams. it blocks, so it's a direct shot at Google in that way. It's a direct shot at blocking AdSense ads, but then pop-ups too. People use pop-ups to get newsletter subscriptions. But more importantly, I think it's largely, if it rolls out as a lot of people are worrying about, it's at the analytics industry itself as a whole, because it can block tracking codes. So the analytics, the tracking codes that people put on their websites for analytics, it can block that. Users aren't going to complain. They love ad blocker. They don't want to see ads, and that's what they see the utility of it for, so they're not going to complain. So Apple's not going to take any PR hit for this, but it will also, not coincidentally, make iAds more appealing, and it also makes, in one fell swoop, sort of makes Apple a big data analytics company, because they can collect user behavior at the OS level, right? They don't need websites. They can just track what people are doing on their platform, on their operating system. And so another possible outcome, it might just open up the floodgates for content marketing via media companies. So rather than selling ads, people are selling articles, and they're publishing those articles as ads, basically.
What an interesting development. It really is. But I have to say, I had an issue recently on my Mac with ad blocker, and it put malware on my computer, so I had to get rid of it. And it was apparently a known issue with Apple, so that's sort of an interesting turn of events. And I think that's going to have a bad impact on publishers. So speaking of bad, this week there was a really stupid hoax online. The source of this was Inquisitor, and the challenge was hold a Coke with your boobs. And it started out as a joke, and it started out with Danny Frost and Gemma Jacks, and they were just joking around, and the next thing they know, they said, we never thought it would take off, but it did, and people started posting that it was for a breast cancer awareness charity, which was not true, and the next thing you know, there's all these people trying to hold Cokes between their boobs. I mean, geez. So then what happened, which was really sort of not unexpected, was there was a scathing response published by Amy Fletcher, who has breast cancer, and she posted a naked post-double mastectomy photo of herself with a bottle of Pepsi and said, "Do you think this is beautiful?" And it's just sad. That's a mess.
It's a mess. I don't have. I have another and worse. It's a similar a hoax type of thing. Not nearly as much of a downer as that, but
definitely a downer.
There has been a photoshopped image of Steven Spielberg sitting in front of a triceratops as if he just hunted and killed the triceratops. That was posted years ago with the first movies, the Jurassic Park movies, and people passed around, and it was kind of cute and funny. And so now there's Jurassic World coming out, and that photo has resurfaced, and it's been making the rounds. And one very prominent Twitter user had some comment on it. Joyce Carol Oates, the novelist, condemned Steven Spielberg for slaughtering triceratops on Twitter. She retweeted the photo of him along with the comment of, "It's just ridiculous that something like this can still be going on." And
it's so funny.
So this is from Yahoo Movies. Gwen Watkins was the reporter on that piece, but I thought that was yeah, you got to sort of pay attention to what you're retweeting before you do so.
Well, speaking of ridiculous, Dave, mute yourself. Speaking of ridiculous, LeBron had a little wardrobe malfunction this week, and of course, the internet being what it was, it trended on Twitter, and the hashtag was hashtag LeBron's dick, because apparently he doesn't wear underwear, and he had a little wardrobe malfunction. While he was getting ready for the game on national television, he tucked his shirt in, and for some reason, we got a view.
There was a baseball player many years ago, probably a decade ago, who slid into second base, and as you slide in, you're sliding in on dirt, and so he got a bunch of sand in his pants, and he just reflexively pulled down his pants to get the sand out of his pants, and had a bit of the same, not nearly to the extent that LeBron did, but
how could you play basketball without underwear? Excuse me.
No, well, he did have compression shorts. He was wearing compression shorts, so. Yeah, I know a little bit about basketball, but yeah. So he was wearing compression shorts and his uniform. So yeah. In that case, you wouldn't wear yet another layer of undergarment. But
Okay.
I'll let that go.
So there's a kind of a sad report for PR pros. In a DS Simon report this week, they polled journalists, and they found out that 90% of digital journalists think PR pros are liars. The reporter was Kevin Allen. The source was Reagan. And 90% of digital journalists, producers, and bloggers surveyed said they'd been misled by PR pros, and nearly a quarter of them said it happens often. And I'm kind of not surprised, because PR is a profession that has a lot of issues, and not everybody practices it as well as your firm does, Dave. And, you know, there are a lot of people who lack training, who lack understanding, who lack a lot of things, who are doing PR. And you know, they have indeed given the industry a bad name with journalists. And, you know, sitting on both sides of the desk, there are a lot of great PR people, and there's no journalist who can say honestly that they don't use PR people as sources. But, you know, what percent of the PR people are wonderful? Like, what percent of any industry's people are wonderful? It's a small percent.
Let me jump in with one quick issue here under here, because it's very timely. Yesterday, the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, playing in the finals against the Cavs, their head coach, Steve Kerr, he was asked after Game 3, when the Warriors lost, if there would be any lineup changes. And he said no. Now, later on, there was a lineup change in Game 4. And then after, he was asked, well, you know, why didn't you tell us this before? And he basically said, I could have done 3 things. 1, told you that there would be a lineup change, in which case I might as well just go to David Blatt, my opponent, and tell him who I'm going to start. B, not answer the question. Or 3, lie. And I lied. And so to the extent that that companies and people who talk to the media do not tell the truth or the whole truth because of either strategic reasons or safety reasons, I think you need to give them a little bit of a cushion to do that.
Not saying there are no exceptions.
I've said for years that the PR industry needs a PR firm. The problem partly is that, you know, there's no certification. Anybody can call themselves a PR pro, and a lot of people do. And it is in our own interest as PR practitioners to be as truthful and not to lie, because our credibility depends upon it. Our effectiveness depends upon it. But there are situations where you can be talking to a reporter and offer a spokesperson, a CEO or whatever, as a spokesperson, and plan on an interview, but then something happens internally in the organization. The CEO can't make the interview, and you have to tell the reporter, well, I can't do it. And if they interpret that as a lie, then it's not a lie. It's just something happened and I can't deliver anymore. It's beyond my powers to do anything about it. So I would love to see the questions on that too.
Well, we could do a show about that, you know. I used to do PR. I used to own a PR firm, and I really did leave that industry for some of the reasons that the journalists cited there, because I just felt as though the industry, like you said, needs a makeover, you know. Does that bring us to better news? Yeah, I think it does. Let's see what our good news is. Okay. Would you pose with a tampon for a good cause? Thousands and thousands of people are doing that, and the hashtag Just a Tampon is a campaign that's aiming to break the stigma and the taboo around women's periods in partnership with an organization called Plan UK. And the issue is that around the world, millions of girls face discrimination for just being girls. And one of the ways it manifests is poor access to quality menstrual hygiene and health, and it poses health issues. It makes girls face bullying and miss schools. And so the idea here, 1 in 10 girls in Africa misses school when they have their period. Only 12% of girls and women have access to sanitary products around the world. So this campaign asks you to take a selfie with a tampon and text tampon to 70007 to donate to and use the hashtag just a tampon, because there's nothing to be embarrassed about. And some very cool people have posed with tampons.
And when you're donating, where's the money going to?
The money is going to education, to the organization Plan UK, which works with education and helps to bring products to women in these countries.
Okay, cool. So Twitter's CEO is stepping down. He'll be exiting on the July 1st, I believe, and former CEO Jack Dorsey will be running Twitter in the interim while the board searches for a new CEO, apparently. But one development out of that news was Snoop Dogg took advantage of that news hook. He newsjacked that announcement with, and this is from a Verge article by James Vincent, with a tweet that said, "First order of business, get that moolah, Snoop for CEO, hashtag," and then followed it up by trying to get his fans involved in it with the hashtag of "if Snoop was Twitter CEO." This reporter here compiled a couple of the more entertaining tweets regarding that. Kane Stunt said, if Snoop was CEO, the max letters wouldn't be 140, they'd be 420. T-Dog said, if Snoop was CEO, the verified symbol wouldn't be a check mark, it'd be a weed leaf. And Artist Eccentric said, if Snoop Dogg was CEO, you wouldn't retweet, you'd just pass it.
That's a good one. I think that they've had this issue before. Didn't he leave and come back? Isn't that what happened a while back? Twitter is adding all these features. They're doing all these things. I think it's getting better every day, but apparently the stock market is not 100% convinced. So I have a good one about a billboard that makes you yawn and then it brings you coffee. And the source of this was Charlie Stevens in PSFK. And what they did was they put this billboard in public places, and then it's a proven fact that when you see people yawn, you will yawn in response. And so all these people are yawning, and then they come out and they hand you coffee. And I don't know the name of the brand. That wasn't important to me, but I thought it was really clever. And they put it in a couple of public spaces and commuter places. And, people are sleepy anyway, and you show them somebody who's yawning, and there you go. Everybody's yawning with you. I love when marketing is fun.
That's great. That's a very clever. I mean, the dynamic of seeing somebody yawn and having to yawn yourself is real, right? So take advantage of that, and that's very, very clever campaign. Another clever thing that I found is GIF graphics. So this is a relatively new phenomenon, but you've heard of infographics, and infographics are wildly spreadable. People love to share them on social, so that's part of the reason why they're so popular. Also, it's visual. You can capture a lot of information and understand it quickly. So infographics are a standard operating procedure these days for getting attention, but now there's GIFographics, so animated GIFs that are infographics. And Content Marketing Institute's Alf Mimeroglu. I'm sorry, I completely butchered your name, Alf. But he's got a list of 10 examples of GIF infographics, and we'll put those in the show notes. But that's another idea you'll want to consider if you're thinking about infographics. Maybe you want to think about animating them as well.
I think they look great. I really do. So I see that Comment Tracker isn't working. What a big surprise. Sorry, guys, but I do love your comment, Ray Hiltz. So another good thing that I came across, I love Kid President, and his name is Robbie Novak, and he's just the cutest, sweetest little guy. And he teamed up with ConAgra Foods to host a whole summer-long It's a TELLA-thon, telethon, encouraging people to tell others how child hunger in America increases during the summer when kids don't have access to free and reduced price school meals. And so they kicked it off with a live stream with Kid President, and he's, you know, the most enthusiastic person on the planet. And it's really to shed light on the fact that 22 million people rely on school lunches, and 80% of those 22 million kids are left wondering about their next meals in the summertime. So the website is Child Hunger Ends Here, and the goal is to put 3 million meals on the table for kids who are food insecure, and you do that by entering a code that's on some ConAgra brand packages, and those include Hunt's and Wolf, and on this site there's all of the brands that are ConAgra brands, and I just think that's a wonderful initiative. This kid is always doing wonderful things. Got another good one, Dave?
Yep, yep. I love those types of partnerships, taking advantage of the awareness that that each of them have, and definitely a good cause. A friend of mine runs a food shelf, and that dynamic that it is needed during the summer months when kids aren't in school is accurate, is true. In Cool Tools, I have. Are we on to Cool Tools? Yeah, okay. So I've got YouTube Music Insights, YouTube for Artists. They released a new tool recently called Music Insights, and you can go to it. Anybody can use it. Type in the name of the band or the musician you're interested in, and it shows the cities where the artist is popular, the top tracks by artists, the top views from both the artist's official music videos as well as fan uploads. So you can see how fans are reacting that way. The data is since September 2014, so it's not a huge set of data, but that's where they're starting. And not all artists are included, but they're adding them all the time. So you might not find the artist you're interested in, but check back later and you will be able to. It also offers, obviously, the analytics for musicians and artists themselves who are using YouTube as a promotional vehicle. So very cool with that one.
Wonderful. That's a terrific one. So speaking of apps, we have a gift for our viewers, and that is some of the best apps that we've covered in the 100 episodes of the Beyond Social Media show, and we will make that available to everybody who signs up for the Beyond Social Media show newsletter. We'll post that in the stream afterwards, and we'll post that on our blog, the BeyondSocialMediaShow.com blog, and we have them categorized by business, by fun, and I forget what the other ones are, but there are currently 43 of them. We may add a couple more before we send them out, and I think you'll get a kick out of them. And I came up this week with something that's in beta, but I hope to be able to use it soon. It's called this.cm, and it's a new social network that wants to solve our content overload program. It's an invite-only beta. I haven't gotten my invite-only yet, but every day each user can only share one link. I think that is just a terrific idea, because I don't know about you, but I'm trying to keep up with about 5,000 links a day, and it's exhausting. So people will hopefully be careful about what they share.
It's a good idea in theory, and I like it. Minimalism is generally a good thing in this age of information overload. The problem they're going to have is critical mass. They need enough people in the system to make it work. But good luck to them.
Like Elo that nobody uses, you know. But I mean, it's a great idea. Perhaps if they promote it, you know, it all comes down to marketing, like everything else. I have another really cool thing that I came across this week, and that is a Kickstarter campaign by Anthony Smith Jr. And he's a Nikola Tesla fanboy, and he's got a Kickstarter for a very cool comic about the actual life of the inventor of DC current, who was ripped off by Thomas Edison. And of course, you know, the Tesla car is the biggest thing since sliced bread at the moment, and I definitely hope you'll take a look at the campaign, because really it's at the comic book and the Kickstarter campaign, because it's pretty fabulous.
Cool, cool. I've got one last one in shiny new stuff. WordPress Insight tool. So WordPress has added this from the Next Web article by Napier Lopez. It has added an upgrade to the stats function of WordPress that tells you, so it tells you the time of day your site is most popular at a glance. It's in a grid format with hours and days of the week, and you can see when your site is most popular. So it's a nice little new upgrade feature of visualization of the posts you publish and when people are reading them. So gives you an idea of when you might want to publish a time of day to get the most exposure.
What a good idea. I like that a lot. The last one I have is IceRocket, which will monitor your blog, Twitter, and Facebook in 20 languages, and it puts the results into graphs that you can play with, and it lets you choose the periods of time that you want to monitor, and it's a very, very comprehensive monitoring program that is unlike the other ones that I play with for clients. So take a look at that. So does that bring us to the daily numbers?
Indeed. So this one is quick. I've got how people arrive at websites. This is from the Domain Name Association. It's the graph I'm looking at has it for a handful of countries, and I'm just going to cite the U.S., but we'll put a link so people can see the different countries they're interested in. This is the method most often used to navigate to websites according to internet users in select countries. In the U.S., then, not surprisingly, the top way that people reach a website is through search. At 43% said type a company a relevant term into search engine. The second one, type a domain directly into the browser address bar, is 31%. That can also, I mean, people, there's a weird dynamic that people often type the domain name of the website they want to visit into search and then click on the link in search results. It always struck me that people just aren't aware of the title, the address bar in their browser, and don't use it directly because they'd save themselves a step. So, but that's what people do. Third, use a bookmark. 13% use a bookmark to get to a site. Fourth, 6% click on a link from an email or other source. 5, use a social media or social network. That's at 4%. And use an app provided by that company. 3% of the U.S. users use it, find the website that way. But just numbers that I hadn't seen before. They're not tremendously remarkable, but I hadn't seen this type of research done before, so I decided to cite it.
Hey, Dave, let me ask you a question. Because you mentioned the point about people will type a company name in Google search, right? And then click on what will be the first one in that, and a lot of times that's an ad. And Google has changed the way they display ads so that it's less of a contrast between the rest. So isn't that click a cost to the company that you're searching on?
It is indeed. It is indeed. So if you're running ads for your own domain name, and your own domain name is ranking first anyway, then you might want to save yourself a few bucks and not run those ads. Good point.
You may want to run your competitor's domain name. And
Good one. So that brings us to the end of the show, but we're not going to stop the broadcast. What we're going to do is we're going to start a chat that has, I'm going to put the link to join the Hangout into the show page, and if you would like to join, we can have up to 15 people in here, so 12 more people can join us, and we're going to have a little party. A virtual little party to thank you all for showing up. So in the meantime, Albert, why don't you tell everybody where to find us online, and I'll go and do that on the event page.
B.L. Ochman, CEO of Maximum Plus, that's maximum-plus.com, and you got to follow her on Twitter at What's Next. She's had that great handle for years and years and years. What's Next? That's one of the best handles, BL, that I've seen on Twitter ever.
Yeah.
and David, where, you are in so many places, but E-Strategy Blog is David's one of his main uh, places of content, and on Twitter at D Erickson on Twitter. And then what you're working for, your company blog is Kowalski and Courage, right?
That's the agency is Kowalski and Courage, and the blog is creativepr. Talk about good domain names. creativepr.com/blog.
Okay, we have Scott Silverstein joining us. Hi there, Scott Silverstein. How are you, my friend?
Hey, BL, how are you? Hi, everybody. I am excited about being in here with the greatest of the PR people
Look at those sunglasses.
on the planet, you know. Dave Erickson, this morning I wanted to embed an image into a Gmail. I wanted to link to a YouTube video. And I searched, I don't know what I searched on, but you came up #1.
Because he's the bomb. He knows how you do all this stuff, and he has so many places where his content lives.
Yeah, so, you know, that's evidence that if you need something like that done, call you, right?
Are you saying that David's name came up when you used the search keywords embed? I missed that. What'd you? I'm sorry. What'd you search
No,
on
I was
exactly?
trying to. I wanted to embed a video in a Gmail, and I searched on something in that regard, and David Erickson's instructions came up. It was incredible. I said, "Geez, I know that. I know who that guy is." You know.
So Scott and I met in real life at a 3D printing show in New York City last year, and we found out that each of us has legs. Hi, Jim. Hi, Jim. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Jim Gould, we don't hear you, but we're glad you're there. Maybe we'll hear you soon. I'd like to raise my coffee to you all because we just really love seeing you guys here every week, and I hope some more of you will figure out how to join us and come in and hang out with us. And I just will ask, like, when you're not talking, mute your mic, because otherwise we're going to get all kinds of echoes. We would like to hear from. What are you up to, Scott? What are you doing these days?
What am I up to? Well, I'm focusing on direct consumer marketing. What happened to you? What happened to my picture here? Oh, there you go. Or what happened? I'm focusing on, a lot of my time is being spent in an area called direct consumer marketing, and I have over 251 customers that are buying 450 plus products through a website, and I get paid every time they shop. And what's nice about it, it's like being a partner to Costco's. You know, you could be a partner to Costco's, and you could get a commission off everybody that walked in the door and bought something every week. You'd be doing all right, you know. So a lot of my time is being spent in that area. Also, I have a Keurig, so I don't know. I always kid Scott Scowcroft that he's drinking cheap coffee out there, and I never thought I'd go from Starbucks in the morning to a Keurig here at home.
I'm sorry to hear that environmentally unfriendly thing that you're doing. We have Zara Altair here with us.
Hey, Zara, how are you?
Hi, good
You're
morning.
drinking Dunkin', Scott. You're drinking Dunkin'. That's the right coffee, bro.
Yeah, this is the original blend, and it's delicious. Now, I know you can't throw these bottom things away. So
But you
I got
can buy one of your own, and you can use the coffee without having those environmentally unfriendly things in your cork.
but I'm saving them. I'm not throwing them out. They're in a bag in the garage. My wife thinks I'm nuts.
We
I
do
said
too, Scott.
they will come up with the technology that'll take care of it, I'm convinced.
Zara, how are you? How nice to see you.
Hi, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic.
Zara has a wonderful show that she does every week on Wednesday. It's called Actation Now. And how many shows have you done now?
You know what? I'm going to have to look at probably 70 something.
Wow. And Jim has a show. Tell us about yours. Jim? Oh, I guess we can't hear Jim. We see you. We can't hear you. Jim, we can't hear you. Oh, all right. Okay. There's a little hand behind him, though. There must be a kid there. So, do any of you have questions?
What are you doing?
Now we hear him.
Whoever that is wants to be on here with us. Let's see who it is. Hey, Jim, who's there with you?
That's Chris. That's my wife.
Oh, what a little hand.
Well.
So, we are glad to see you guys here, and I wish the damn comment tracker thing would work. It just won't. It works every week for me.
I know it cuts out like halfway through the show.
You know, speaking about that comment tracker, I had a situation last week where the comment tracker went missing. Not only disappeared, but on the events page, nobody could make a comment.
Oh, I've never had that one happen. But they did just update Hangouts this week in a big way, and I think that explains some of the issues that are happening at the moment.
Yeah, I just want them to get that comment tracker because I finally figured out how to work it, and then when it's just not working, then it's just
well, here's the thing.
Embarrassing.
Comment Tracker is not a Google app. Comment Tracker is a third-party app, and until Google either buys it or incorporates it in some way, it's going to still be wonky. But it works for me every other instance except on this show. I do the comment tracker on Ray Hills' show every week, and I've never had an issue. It's wonky on our show. I don't know why. I mean, I see there's a ton of comments on the page. Oh, I'm sorry you can't jump in, Ray. But, we couldn't see any of them, and it says it was tracking, so who knows. Zara, you use it. What's your experience with it?
Well, in the last month twice, comment tracker gets set up and I'm using it, and then halfway through the show it just can't pull anything up. There's nothing. I can see the comments. They're still streaming in the comment tracker, but if I try to pull them up, nothing happens.
Yeah, I had that happen to me too. It just wouldn't show up on my screen or anyone's screen. Right. Same thing with the lower third. It's working now, though.
Yeah, that's coming and going lately. Jim, tell us about Geeks on Tour.
Okay. With my wife, Chris, we travel around the country and we teach about technology, mostly for travelers and RVers, and it's really a lot of fun. Right now we're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we have a weekly show on smartphones and tablets. So at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we'll have our show for what does this button do?
Are you doing that show from an RV? Because that would be cool.
I often do it. We usually do it from the RV, and we've done it all over the country. That we'll be on our 42nd show this week. So it's something. Right now, we just got fiber in the townhouse where we're staying, so we're really looking forward to seeing how that's going to work. Bandwidth is so important with all of this stuff, and we usually use our cell phones connected to Verizon Wireless, which gives us great bandwidth. We have unlimited data, so that helps, and it's just a cool way to do a show.
Jim, you and I need to talk.
All right.
We gotta do some content on Jim, right there, David? Gotta do a story.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I will follow me on Albert Marugi on Twitter, and we'll connect that way. What are you on Twitter, Jim?
Geeks on Tour would be our
Geeks on
Twitter
Tour
handle.
on Twitter? Perfect.
Yeah.
Albert, have you done any videos of bears waking up this spring?
I have not done bears waking up. I have not done bears waking up. I've done all kinds of furniture video from High Point, North Carolina at the High Point show down there. Went out to Williston, North Dakota, did a couple of segments on how the oil field workers are using different cell technology. So that's another kind of destination I've been to. So yeah, and tons of basketball from around the Midwest.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Your kid is like quite the basketball player, right?
He's good. I'll put a couple of show notes in how high school basketball and how colleges are using social media and YouTube to identify and recruit players, and vice versa. How players who may not be playing at big schools, how they're getting noticed by college coaches by using video and YouTube and being on Twitter.
Cool. Scott Scowcroft joined us. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, tell everybody about the Scott treatment, please, and when you get your microphone going. Oh, I don't know. We don't see you yet.
He's probably getting a cup of coffee.
That would be my guess. So Dave, what are you up to this week? Can't hear you. You're muted. Dave, you're muted. Oh well.
There we
There you
go.
go.
I can keep track of the mute button. I am doing the same old thing. I'm working and reading and preparing for this show. Not a lot.
So, Scott, tell us about the Scott treatment and about your show. He was
here, now he's disappeared again.
I'm wondering whether that's part of the Scott treatment. We all lurk around for him to say something, so when he does say something, the ears go like that,
What Scott does is really cool. Scott edits videos down to their essences, and so he'll take a half-hour show and get it down to a couple of minutes, and it's something that he's really become an expert at. The Scott treatment is something you should all take a look at. It's a very cool idea, and it turned itself into a business for him. I hope he'll come back so he can tell us about it. And he's on the Ray Hiltz show with me and Jess Duell and Randy Bowden and, of course, Ray Hiltz. And we do that every Tuesday. And he and Jess do the Scott and Jess show, which is on a summer hiatus at the moment, I believe. But so he's a busy bee. All of us are. So I don't know. I guess we've lost Scott. So anyway, I just wanted to salute all of you and thank you for being loyal followers and fans, and just tell you that we're glad to see you every week, and we're open to any sort of suggestions, and would love to hear from you anytime.
Hey,
Oh,
BL.
thanks. That's cool.
Yes,
BL.
Yeah.
Did you used to watch Hee Haw when you were a kid?
I did.
Remember the salute, and they would salute a certain town in the country? That was pretty cool.
Well, we could do Seattle. I think there's a couple of people here who are in Seattle. Yeah, there's Scott. Scott's back, and he's in Seattle. How's the weather in Seattle, Scott?
Oh, it's terrible. It's going to be in the upper 70s or lower 80s pretty soon and sunny. I'm just miserable. As you know, I'm famous for liking the clouds and the rain. Hi, Sarah. First time we've been on the same film strip.
I know. Yeah, the first time this Saturday. So I was just telling everybody about the Scott treatment. Tell us a little more. How did that start? I mean, you made it into a business.
I call myself a reluctant entrepreneur because I was laid off from my job at a hospital district in the marketing department, and I spent about 9 months thinking I had to be a social media guru, and because that was kind of a continuation of what I was learning. And then someone talked about specializing in something that was very narrow and relying on your background, and my background was video, and the future are small snippets of video for sharing, and so I pivoted to being able to really take something, an HOA, and to either have a highlights reel or golden nuggets, and Ronnie Bincer and Martin Shovington suggested that I call it the Scott treatment. So the rest is history.
Cool.
It really is historic because you've created your own little industry. You know, I think that's a very pleasant laid off from a job story.
Well, it's just one of those things you look back and it's the best thing that ever happened to me because I really enjoy, and on Ray Hilt's show, the Ray Bunch, we talked about being your own boss recently, and it's just terrific. Exploring all of the new possibilities that we have here on the internet, and that's one of the reasons why I love your show, BL and David, because every week you bring the best of what it brings out in us, and also the worst. And somehow if it's best or worst, it's also humorous.
Yes.
Well, one of the things that we discussed on that show about being your own boss was how lucky we are when we are our own boss because we get to pick the 18 hours a day when we want to work, you know?
Isn't that the truth?
Hey,
That's
Scott.
so funny.
Hey, Scott.
We're also living in a time where we have the tools that makes it a lot easier for us to create our own work, to be our own boss, to 10, 15, 20 years ago, it would have been a lot harder.
Yeah, it would have been. It's a power shift. And it's more than an evolution. I think it's a revolution. You're going to say something, Scott?
I was going to say something to Scott. Scott, were you ever in radio in your youth?
Yeah, in fact, when I was in high school, I when I was in 7th or 8th grade, I got my my FCC license. It's not the third class, and by the time I was in high school, I was working midnight till 6 days a week at the local, midnight till 6 at one of the local 1,000-watt radio stations. Why do you ask?
Why? Because I won't be the first guy to tell you have a good set of pipes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah. And I will say one other thing. If you haven't heard him, look up Larry Jordan. You ever hear Larry Jordan? He has an awesome show on Final Cut Pro editing.
Okay.
And he does some great interviews with producers and editors in the entertainment business. And his voice reminds me of yours.
My gosh. Well, I'll have to interview him then. But we'll have to. But we couldn't make a podcast out of it because nobody will be knowing who's talking.
Anyway, guys, we are going to sign off and go work on the show notes and time-stamping the video and doing the blog post and all that stuff that we all know about post-production. And so thank you all for joining us, and thanks so much for watching. And you will find us online, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. And later today we will have the video time-stamped, and we're on Facebook, we're on Google+, we're on Twitter. We try to be everywhere.
Hey, BL, did I tell you I created a new company called Give It a Think.
What's that about?
It's just all video production now.
Cool. I'm going to go look and learn more about Final Cut Pro, too. Thanks.
GiveItAthink.com.
Okay. Got to take a look.
Congratulations, guys. You've done great. Looking forward to the next 100.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for joining us and listening to us in these many episodes.